What's a wholesome secret you have? My dad always retells stories and a few sentences and he'll ask, have I told you this before? I always say no, because I love hearing him tell stories. And he loves telling them. Even when I've heard it so much that I have it memorized. When I was little I used to secretly put my money in my parents' wallets so they could have it without knowing. When I was little, I actually did the opposite of this. My stepdad died in January. June 23rd would have been their 20th wedding anniversary. She has been so down since his passing. Also knowing the things he did to prep before he became bedbound. Taking her car and having it serviced and brand new tires. Filling the cabinet with the hard to find sort of expensive dog treats, etc. I had a big floral arrangement sent to her on their anniversary day. Signing the card "I'm always with you" and threatened the floral shop with life and limb to not tell who came in and paid for it. She was so happy. She thinks he thought of it and really it was me. He'll never tell. A few years ago I was out with a friend at a restaurant celebrating and he feels super awkward about having stuff paid for him. So he asked us all not to pay for his dinner. I gave the waiter my card and told her to tell him that his dinner was on the house because it was his birthday. He believed it and keeps raving about how that restaurant has great service now. He still doesn't know it was me, but it makes me smile every time he talks about how much he likes the restaurant. I live in a village that is like 80% old people, meaning they can't walk up to the church and see their loved ones' graves very often. Once a month I go into the graveyard and clean all the graves and make sure they have fresh flowers on them and they look nice. I got caught once by an elderly lady who has since died. I take extra time on hers because she was just so sweet. My boyfriend tends to grind his teeth at night during his deepest sleep cycles or when he's having a stressful dream. To help lull him out of the dream and get him to relax so he doesn't wake up with a sore jaw, I start rubbing his arm, gently call out his name, and in an overly loving whisper say things like "I love you, you're the best, him right here, you're my guy," and then I ask him very politely to please stop grinding his teeth. He always responds with happy murmurs even though he's dead asleep, and then calms down enough where he stops grinding and drifts back off without ever actually waking up. He generally has no idea I do this, and I just smile to myself when he wakes the following day remarking how great he slept. In our house we have a safe. In the safe there is a envelope of our online accounts and PW in case one of us dies. One of the notes has instructions to an email account my wife doesn't know. If she accesses the account, she'll find hundreds of love letters or love emails to her. I want to be a dad. I want that more than any career goal I've ever made. Even though that hasn't happened yet, I've had the opportunity to adopt college kids in my town, teaching them to dance, helping them figure out dating, making them tea, teaching them games, and talking through all sorts of life with them. I get to laugh with them, and I get to cry with them, and I make them better off when they return to their families. One of them carved me a walking stick with a beautiful small bird whittled into the handle. I almost started crying as he said the words, "Happy Father's Day." I put together a surprise Christmas for my sister, her husband, and their 5 kids about a decade ago, after finding out they didn't have any money for presents due to emergency expenses. Dropped off family presents for the 12 days prior to the holiday, coats one night, a big dinner one night, hot chocolate kits, etc. And once my then husband's ridiculously rich family found out what I was doing, they joined the cause. By Christmas Eve we had about $4K in presents ranging from clothes to toys to Home Depot gift cards to drop off. Hired a Santa lookalike to ring the doorbell at 10 PM and drop the toys off for us. He also ended up giving them $500 of his own money. She still has no idea who was behind it to this day, and I hope she never finds out. She and her now grown kids still talk about the magic Christmas Santa visited us. My mom divorced my abusive father when I was 10. She was going through a hard time, sleepwalking and doing weird stuff. I would wake up and bring her back to bed. One night, I got up out of bed to check on her. She was sleeping peacefully, so I just stood there and watched her. Then I kissed her on the cheek and went back to bed. Years later, I overheard her telling a friend about that rough time in her life and how one night she felt like she was kissed by an angel and finally found peace. I guess I was her angel. I'm the person secretly sending the flowers the elderly ladies at the nursing home once a month. They deserve it and are the sweetest things. When I was very young, I was told all dogs had very good hearing, so whenever I saw one in public, I would whisper how good they are. Maybe it was very dumb and slightly creepy of me, but back in 7th grade I would follow a lot of PPL from school on Instagram, and often I would see that some classmates and friends were depressed or just going through a rough time, so I would write them a letter with some encouraging words and put in like $10 from the money I had saved up through the years and tell them to buy something nice with it. I would watch them during school to see what their locker was and sneak out during class to go to the restroom and put the letter in their locker. In high school, I started a compliments page for my school on Facebook. People would write in compliments about each other and I'd post them anonymously. I was deeply depressed and wanted to make a positive impact in my community when I felt really powerless. I never told anyone who was behind it, but knowing the kindness people showed their friends and classmates was really special and solidified my faith in humanity when I was at a real low point in my life. Due to a complicated inside joke among my friends, I run a meme account on Instagram called great_blow_heron. It's literally just an account my friends follow where I post low effort memes about herons, complete with a heron profile picture. For some reason though, every few days random wildlife photographers will tag the account in pictures they take of great blue herons. I've never told anyone this, but after while I started liking and commenting on all the posts, usually complimenting them on their photography skills, it's nice to think that my obscure shitposting account can brighten someone's day with a little chaotic energy. I'm about 14 years older than my sister, who's going to be a junior in high school in the fall. She's extremely smart and has been taking classes for college credits in 8th grade. She's already being scouted by recruiters from some of the best schools in the country, including MIT and Cornell. She doesn't know it yet, but wherever she chooses to go to school, it's already paid for. I set up a trust fund to give her a full college education with no debt. I had this 87-year-old neighbor whose husband died, and my mom asked me to go bring her a thing of flowers and told me to send our condolences. I went over and did what my mom said, and when she saw the flowers she mentioned that her husband used to get her a bouquet of flowers every day for 64 years and that she was going to miss that. So for a little over 3 years I would go out, get a bouquet of flowers, and put it in her mailbox without her knowing, so that when her grandson came and got her mail she would have the bouquet of flowers. She never found out who was doing it. She was a really nice lady and would sit on her front porch in the summer and watch the children play on the road. Invited my sisters and me to sit with her and talk. I became really good friends with her. A couple of weeks after her 90th birthday she had a stroke and passed away. I still leave flowers on her grave every other week. It's been 2 years, and I still miss her to this day. Rest in peace, Mrs. Johnson. I'm glad I could continue bringing you flowers like your husband did. I hope you two are together somewhere with a garden full of those daisies you loved so much. Literally every single thing I do in my life is to make my nana proud. It's honestly the one thing I genuinely care about. She's the reason I went to college. The reason I worked hard to get a good job. The reason I lost the weight and took back control of my health. All for her. My life is wonderful because of her. I hooked up my friend with his crush without both of them knowing. They are going now 3 years strong. Edit. Since a lot of people want the full story, here it is. My friend's crush was my little sister, who was 6 months younger than he was. He didn't tell me this, probably because I would find it weird, which I didn't. Luckily for my friend, she also had a crush on him. They never told me about who their crushes were. I basically just found out through sheer observation. Both were introverts and very shy. No one made a move, so I decided to give them an indirect push. I'd start off by telling my friend what she likes. He was a pretty rich guy, and I didn't really want to spend money on her since I was a broke university student. So I saw it as a win-win situation. He bought her a pretty bracelet for her birthday. Needless to say, she was ecstatic, and they grew closer. Looks like my plan is working. Next up, I made situations where they could coincidentally meet. Did this by asking my friend where he was, then making an excuse to my sister to force her to go there. Also by making her buy groceries where he worked. This worked brilliantly. They would always tell me how they met each other. I'd keep doing this over and over while indirectly telling him some tips that magically applied to my sister. Those tips eventually gave my friend the courage to ask her out. After 4 months me trying to get them closer, she obviously said yes. My job as a big brother and a friend was done. Sorry if this seems rushed. Writing the whole thing would take ages, so this is just a quick TL. Drive. Feel free to ask any questions. My parents don't really know how to use tech much. I've been slowly teaching them step by step on stuff like Facebook, using a phone, using a tablet, etc. They like going to Starbucks a lot, so I set them up with an account and taught them how to use it. However, I set my credit card to be used whenever they go and buy coffee. I watch my stepmother streams and talk to her. She doesn't know it's me, and she always gets excited when viewers talk to her. I make fake TikTok acts to gas up my 6-year-old. He makes videos of his progress learning how to fingerboard, and I've never seen him so excited every time he gets a new comment or follower. It's been amazing for his self-esteem and pride. I was walking home from my bus stop when I saw this old lady being super careful crossing a shortcut that goes through some houses. It was winter, and there was snow and ice on the ground. She looked like she was struggling, and it also looked dangerous because she seemed fragile in a way. I immediately offered my help and she accepted. I held her hand and walked slowly through the shortcut. Then I asked where does she plan to go. She told me she was going to the bus stop, so I helped her reach all the way there. I don't know why, but I asked where she was going, and she told me to the nearest Walmart. So I also offered my help. She then accepted my offer, which I was not expecting, and I ended up doing groceries with her and walking her home. She was a very sweet lady and calm. That little trip made me feel really good for a whole month, and I still remember now and then about it, and it makes me smile a bit. At the time, I remember thinking about asking why is she doing groceries at her age. I was really curious, but I held back. I always wonder. I'm in the process of designing my girlfriend's engagement ring so that I can propose to her this fall. She has no idea I've been talking to a silversmith, and I can't wait to ask her to be my wife. I won't share this with anyone, but once I was at a diner that had one of those grapple arcade machines. I saw two little girls trying to get an Elsa stuffed figure, and they ended up losing their money trying to get it. So I called them over and said I would win it for them. Once I said it, I was scared, cause I realized I promised something that I couldn't do. But I got super lucky and got it first try. I gave it to the girls. It made their day, and their smiles made mine. Moral of the story, little things like that can make a big difference. So go make some own day. Close bracket. I act interested and excited every time someone tells me something that they are passionate about despite them repeating it to me for the nth time. I'm just happy they wanted to share it with me. Every year my school did thing where you could buy someone a chocolate rose on Valentine's Day and choose to remain anonymous. They were like $10 and really crummy, but every year I'd say what I could and buy the people I thought were least likely to get one a rose, so they had a good day. I carry around things to help me take care of sick bees and make them better. A bit of white sugar and a bit of water often gives the bee the shot of adrenaline to the heart a bee needs. The sugar rush. But remember, this is only in emergencies. Bees produce poor quality honey for their larvae if all they eat is sugar and water. And don't use brown sugar or honey as they introduce pathogens that the hive may not have built up an immunity for. About 14 years ago, I met a homeless man who had just moved under a bridge at my favorite swimming hole. When we hung out and chatted with him, we noticed he was fishing with string and a bent wire for a hook. We asked him if he wanted one of our rolled fishing rods and some tackle stuff. He said no, he was fine with what he had. We never saw him with food or anything. So we started offering food and rides. He wouldn't take any help. My husband at the time, or my sister offered. All he had was a bike and some blankets. He started work at a Hades and would bike there. We live in the country, so it was pretty far. We were dirt poor too, but we had to do something. So one day, when he first started his job, we brought lots of spoons, full top canned food, and I baked a cake and left it all at his spot. I figured maybe he would take it if he thought Noon would know. We brought a tarp and hung it up so he would have more shelter and privacy. The next day we went back and he had shifted the tarp over more to make his corner smaller, and my cake plate and an empty can of ravioli was sitting in his little trash pile at his home. I was so happy he took what we could give, and we always visited him to fish and never told him we left it for him. One day he wasn't there anymore. All his stuff was gone, and I like to think he finally saved enough to get a place. I'm an adult man, but I privately give my dog kisses on the head so he knows I love and care about his well-being. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.